What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You are listening to Campfire Catholicism. I am your host, Elton Jarvis. So glad to have all you guys listening to the show and the very first episode of Spontaneous Saturday. I've been meaning to post these. I've just been so caught up on editing and real life stuff that I haven't gotten around to editing the content that I am presenting here in this podcast. For those of you that find my content, like my regular content on adventuring into Tolkienverse or even Fairy Tale Fridays, a little bit too much on the deeper side, well, perhaps this is stuff for you, because in Spontaneous Saturdays, we just talk about random stuff. Not only that I am thinking about, but that other people have either asked me or told me. I'm also going to be, in future episodes of Spontaneous Saturdays, I'm going to be inviting other people on this podcast, and we're just going to dialogue. We're just going to dialogue about all sorts of different things. Like, I already have two individuals that do want to go on to talk about sports in the NBA, and so there's probably going to be about an hour and 30 seconds. I don't want to say an hour and 30 seconds, but about at least an hour of us dialoguing. So if that interests you, well, then you can hop onto the podcast and look at that. Today's Spontaneous Saturday episode, I am going to be discussing about, what has inspired me with the title of this episode. So later on this month, I believe Godzilla versus King Kong is going to come out, and I've kind of been a Godzilla fan growing up. Every now and then, I would rent out Japanese giant monster movies, which they're called kaiju. I believe that is spelled Kaiju. And so I used to watch a lot of giant monster movies, I guess you could say, and Godzilla being one of them. And I remember watching the 2014 Legendary version of Godzilla, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty interesting. The only thing that I didn't like about those movies is that it focuses too much on the human drama aspect of things. I just want to see giant movie monsters duking it out with each other, crashing into buildings, and performing their special moves. And I think that's why I love the Japanese style giant movie monsters better. It's because there's very little emphasis on the human characters, and there's a lot of emphasis on the monsters and just watching them fight it out and duke it out. So anyways, Godzilla vs. King Kong is coming out later on this month, which is the month of March. Oh, I'm getting tongue twisted, tongue tied. It's coming out later on this March, and I was thinking a lot about how, in regards to the nature of what we know about in regards to our world, there are certain things that we don't even know that exist, especially in the ocean and other animal species. I mean, we're constantly finding more and more animals that are in the world. Some of these animals are very scary. They really are, and they do pose a real danger to us, especially if we step onto their territory or if we are looking to aggravate them, which nobody should do. Please preserve wildlife. The only time that you can ever fight against wildlife is if you're in a situation where it's life or death and you are, being attacked by it, or they are being the aggressor. But you should never aggravate and never be the aggressor in regards to wildlife. We should seek to preserve it. And I do believe that animals are also a gift from God, in that they can teach us virtues and they can teach us responsibilities, hence why we also have pets. It's funny, the reason why I paused there is because I was thinking how can animals teach us virtues when there are animals that are cannibalistic by nature? Well, maybe we can talk about that in a later episode, I guess. Anyways, there are a lot of monsters. There's a lot of animals that are kind of like monsters. They are very, very scary. And I'm going to share with you 3 animals that I would not want to encounter in the wild. Absolutely at all. If I see any of these animals, I kind of just want to turn away and book it and just sprint out of the way, which in some of these situations you're not supposed to do. And I would actually say that is the last thing that you should do. But I'm going to be sharing with you 3 animals that I don't want to encounter in the wild and why. And I'm going to be sharing some facts about them for any of you guys that are interested. And I'm getting my facts from the National Geographic articles and websites. I don't know. I would like to think that it's reliable. Anyways, the first animal that I'm going to be sharing about is, well, let's be honest. I don't like snakes. More specifically, I don't like poisonous snakes. They pose way too much of a threat, and I just don't want to have to be bitten by them and wait for the venom to take effect and then having to rush and get anti-venom or else I die. But this one poisonous snake in particular, I've been saying absolutely a lot in this episode. Let's just say I strongly dislike the snake, and that is the snake of the black mamba. And the first time that I ever heard about the black mamba, it was, I was a big Kobe Bryant fan. I still am. Loved his game style. I love how he shoots the mid-range shot, and I believe that he is the closest player that anybody has ever gotten to copying Michael Jordan's play style, who is obviously the greatest basketball player of all time. But one of Kobe Bryant's nicknames is the Black Mamba. So I know people say Black Mamba, Black Mamba. I'm just going to say Mamba because I kind of sound like an Australian or like Steve Irwin, Oh, this is a Black Mamba. Crikey. Okay. Black Mambas. They're long, they're fast, venomous, and they're extremely territorial and aggressive. And a lot of people call it the world's deadliest snake, not because it is the most poisonous let me be more specific, the most venomous snake, but it is just extremely territorial and very aggressive. So the common name is obviously the black mamba. The scientific name is, should I even try and attempt to pronounce this? Dendroaspis polylepis. I really hope there's not like a biologist or anybody that is a snake expert that is listening to me butcher the scientific name of this reptile. I apologize. Yeah, the type is obviously a reptile. It is a carnivore, and the average lifespan in captivity is up to 11 years. And sizes can be up to 14 feet. I wouldn't be surprised if they can grow longer than 14 feet. Let's put it that way. And its weight is up to 3.5 pounds. So size relative is to a 6-foot man. And now you can see why I would be I said absolutely again. Why I would be terrified of this snake is because I am not 6 foot. I am 5'6.5". And so if I come across this snake, it's GG for me. Let's put it that way. GG is terminology for good game. It's gamer language. What is the black mamba? Black mambas are fast, nervous, lethally venomous, and when threatened, highly aggressive. There we go. They've been blamed for numerous human deaths, and African myths exaggerate their capabilities to legendary proportions. For these reasons, the black mamba is widely considered to the world's deadliest snake. Again, not because of that it's venomous, it's just aggressive and very territorial. Range and characteristics. Black mambas live in the savannas and rocky hills of southern and eastern Africa. Phew, I don't have to worry about them then because I'm here in Canada. They are Africa's longest venomous snake, reaching up to 14 feet in length, although 8.2 feet is more the average, which I guess that's a good sign. I guess you could say that. And this is the part that really got to me when I read about them. They are also among the fastest snakes in the world, slithering at speeds for up to 12.5 miles per hour. That is fast. And so that is another reason why I don't like the snake, is because it's not only aggressive, it's not only venomous, it is also fast, which can only, I guess, in addition, it can only add more to those other attributes. So let's briefly mention a little bit about the venom, and then we can stop talking about the snake. I could imagine that there are people listening to this that don't like snakes either, so me and you have that in common. You and I have that in common. Before the advent of black mamba antivenin, a bite from this fearsome serpent was almost always fatal, usually within about 20 minutes. Unfortunately, antivenom is still not widely available in the rural parts of the mamba's range, and mamba related deaths remain frequent. Encroachment on the black mamba's territory is not only putting pressure on the species but contributes to more potentially dangerous human contact with these snakes. And I can only imagine it can only make these snakes that much more aggressive and territorial, especially if humans continue to encroach upon them. And I don't want to say they intentionally destroy their territory, but by growing their village, I don't want to stray into stereotypes, but however their way of life works there, it can encroach upon the black mammoth's territory. Okay, so that is one animal that I don't want to encounter in the wild. Here is another one that I wouldn't want to encounter in the wild. And a lot of people might share this in common, who knows? I don't want to ever encounter a jaguar. Ever. Never want to do it. Similar to cougars and mountain lions in Canada, I don't want to encounter. I am more okay with encountering a bear than encountering a jaguar. Unless the bear has cubs, that's one. Or number two, it is a huge grizzly bear, and then I'm not able to. I do live in Alberta, and so I used to work at this golf course, and I encountered bears frequently on this golf course. Although it was black bears, we wouldn't get grizzly bears or brown bears at this golf course in Alberta, northern Alberta. And so some parts of my job responsibilities was I had to scare them away with a bear horn, and I thought that was fun. And so I'm a bit desensitized to black bears unless they do have cubs. I've only met or seen a grizzly once in my life. And from what I remembered, they're decently big. They're much larger than a black bear, but I wasn't too afraid of it. But now a jaguar or any big cat that stalks, not in my ballpark. I'm not about that life. Now, jaguars are obviously mammal, and they're obviously carnivore. They eat meat, and I have some meat on my bones, so I would think that they would think me as a very tasty treat. They are 12 to 15 years lifespan in captivity, and their weight is about 100 to 250 pounds. And so, they're pretty decently huge. Jaguars are the only big cat in the Americas and the third biggest in the world after tigers and lions. They look a lot like leopards. These powerful cats were worshipped. Here's a fun fact. They were worshipped as gods in many ancient South American cultures, and representations of the jaguar show up in the art and archaeology of pre-Columbian cultures across the jaguar's reigns. Why were they worshipped? I actually don't know the theological significance as to why they were worshipped. I would love to search that up maybe in the future, though. That would be very interesting to look at. Okay. Unlike many other cats, jaguars do not avoid water. That's why that bothers me. Okay. Say, for example, if you wanted to get into water and get away from these cats, no, they're just going to jump in water. They'll go after you. They'll stalk you through water. So that's why I don't like this. In fact, they are quite good swimmers. They hunt fish, turtles, and even caimans. If anybody doesn't know what a caiman is, think of it as it's a subspecies of alligator. It's a subspecies of alligator. Using their incredibly powerful jaws to pierce the animal's skulls. Jaguars also eat deer, peccaries, capybaras, tapirs, and a number of other land animals, which they prefer to ambush at night. Again, another reason I don't like jaguars is because they stalk you, and especially they stalk you at night. Not a big fan. Jaguars live alone, and they're territorial. They define their area by marking with their waist or clawing trees. Females have litters of 1 to 4 cubs, which are blind and helpless at birth. The mother stays with them and defends them fiercely from any animal that may approach. even their own father. Young jaguars learn to hunt by living with their mothers for 2 years or more. I guess that's the one silver lining with this animal, is that the mothers are extremely protective of their young. So, I still don't like them though. Still don't like jaguars. Here's the one downside to it is they have a lot of threats to their survival. They face a number of threats, including habitat fragmentation and illegal killing. That I don't like hearing about that. And they are obviously killed by a lot of ranchers and poachers. Like, and obviously I believe they kill them because of their teeth. I could imagine their fur and their skin being made as well. That's another reason why they are killed. And so I do want to say, let's protect our endangered species. Let's protect our jaguars. They do teach us a lot, even though I don't like them. Okay, and here's the last animal that I wouldn't want to encounter, although it's very, very circumstantial and it's very situational. I don't want to encounter a moose, more specifically, a male bull moose during mating season. That, no, I don't want to encounter that. Let me explain. So, obviously, moose are here in Canada. They are a mammal. Luckily, they are a herbivore, so I don't have to worry about being hunted by them. That's, I guess, the one thing that is different. Their average lifespan is 15 to 20 years. Their height at shoulders are 5 to 6.5 feet. This is the part that gets me. They weigh approximately 1,800 pounds. That is a lot of weight. So think about this. They are much larger than a 6-foot man. Again, I'm only 5'6", so that doesn't help my situation at all. In mating season, they are aggressive and they will charge anything that they see. 1,800 pounds of absolute rage charging at me. Yeah, that's not going to end well, so I would not want to encounter that. Moose are the largest of all the deer species. Males are immediately recognized by their huge antlers. Female moose don't grow antlers such as males do. The antlers can spread 6 feet from end to end. Ow. I can imagine getting impaled by those. That wouldn't be a fun time. Moose have long faces and muzzles that dangle over their chins. A flap of skin known as a bell sways beneath each moose's throat. So moose are so tall that they prefer to browse higher grasses and shrubs because lowering their heads to ground level can be difficult. In winter, they eat shrubs and pine cones, but they also scrape snow with their large hooves to clear areas for browsing on mosses and lichens. These hooves also act as snowshoes to support the heavy animal in soft snow and in muddy or marshy ground. Moose are similarly nimble on land. They can run up to 35 miles an hour over short distances and trot steadily at 20 miles an hour. Yeah, they are very fast individuals. Well, very fast creatures. All right, here we go. Let's get to the breeding portion. This is what everybody was waiting for, right? Males called bulls bellow loudly to attract mates each September and October. So those 2 months, I guess you would have to be wary of them. The usually solitary bulls may come together at this time to battle with their antlers for mating supremacy. There's a little nod to masculinity and what a bull moose can teach males, like us human beings, about our masculinity and how competitive, I guess, men are. After mating, the two sexes go their separate ways until the following year. Though they may occasionally feed in the same grounds, they tend to ignore each other. Oh man. Females give birth to 1 or 2 calves in the spring, each weighing some 30 pounds. These calves grow quickly and can outrun a person by the time they are just 5 days old. That's incredible. Young moose stay with their mothers until the following mating season. So yes, those are the three animals that I wouldn't want to encounter in the wildlife. I wonder what your guys's are. Take the moment to think about them and maybe write one to three reasons as to why you wouldn't want to encounter them. If I were to choose one out of the list that I gave, I would say, I would say a jaguar. I would say a jaguar. And then following a jaguar, I think the second would be a black mamba. And then obviously third would be the moose, because the moose would only be that angry during mating season, which again lasted September to October, around that area. So after that, I wouldn't have to worry about it. I really hope that you guys loved this spontaneous Saturday episode. Be sure to look for more of these episodes and other episodes such as the Fairy Tale Fridays and the Adventuring into Tolkien Verses on Campfire Catholicism's Spotify playlist. Also follow on Facebook, Campfire Catholicism. I also have Instagram, which is Campfire_Catholicism, or at Campfire Catholicism, so you can look up me with that. And finally, on YouTube, you can look up Campfire Catholicism on YouTube. I really, again, hope that you enjoyed this episode of Spontaneous Saturday, the very, very first one. Hope it was informative. I hope to have you guys listen to future episodes. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.